And our goal for this chapter is to get to know some basic hotkeys that we're going to be using inside of our geometry nodes. These will all be located in the downloads in the hotkey cheat sheet. And then of course we'll need our Node Wrangler add-on, just like we've been using the earlier courses. And the very first one is to connect to output. So all we have to do is select the node and then hit O to automatically connect it to the output. We're going to be using this one a lot as we move forward. This one really helps with experimentation and seeing what you're doing a little bit better. Next up, we have mute node. And what this is going to do is just temporarily disable. You'll see that we have a little gray outline over the node here. That is going to be muting the node, which is temporarily disabling it. And what it's doing is just allowing the data to pass through it. Next up, we have our viewer node, and we haven't actually used this just yet. And we can use the viewer node if we just do Control Shift and click, and then we get this little viewer node. Now, the reason why I'm explaining this to you now is because this can be very confusing if you accidentally do this. Now, we're going to get into this, but long story short for now, if you end up seeing this in your Geometry Nodes editor, this is overriding what we're seeing in the viewport currently. So the viewport is no longer communicating with group output, it's only communicating with the viewer node. So what should you do for the time being? Just go ahead and hit X on that to delete, and we'll get more into that later on. Next up, we have delete connection, which is going to be Control, right click and drag over top of a connection to automatically disconnect it. So we're going to be using that one a lot too as we move forward. And next up, we have disconnect node. To disconnect a node, all we have to do is alt click and drag on a node off of the node tree. So Control Z, alt click and drag to disconnect any node from the existing network. And then we have auto connect. And to do that, we can simply do alt right click on a node, and then we drag and drop this onto another node. You'll notice we have this little red highlight, and this is how Blender's signaling us. It's going to auto connect that to node. And then once we have that connection made, we can let go and I'll auto connect that to the default input. Now, auto connect doesn't always get it right. For example, this one right here, if I auto connect that one, it'll go to position, right? And that's not the one we wanted for that. I'm going to put it back into offset. So it's useful for some things. Like it's useful. I use it a lot for going from like a big stretch right here. So I'll click, alt right click and drag onto that, and you can easily connect things without having to like zoom in, zoom out, all that. Great, and we'll continue in the next chapter.